Hi, everybody. This is Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged and starself.com. I'm really looking forward to tonight. I hope my voice holds out. Last week, if you'll recall, we covered the heavy duty planets and the dark side of what's about to come or what we're in right now. Tonight, I'm going to flip that around. It's all going to be easy. And I'm actually looking forward to what's going to come up because I really don't know. So we're going to be looking at three things. We're going to be looking at the Neptune opposition to Neptune in the United States chart. We're going to look at the Pluto return in the United States chart. And that's just for Americans. And then we're going to look at the Pluto Square to Eris, which is for everybody. So I'm not sure how to do it. And there's really no way to do it. You just have to go to where the archetypes are and just start describing what you see and feel. So I hope you get something from tonight. I'm really looking forward to it because it's an excessive challenge to me. And I really look forward to teaching this type of stuff because you'll start to see the light side and the dark side are similar. And you'll start to see the light side and the dark side, how they pivot on one thing or another. You'll start to see why the dark side is confused and is using the light side wrongly. So that's what I hope to attain tonight. And I really encourage you to pay close attention. So, because good evening, Mr. John. Because I'm going to show you again the three things we're going to look at. Of course, there are many other things, but these three things are so unbelievably massive. And if anything goes tonight like my last 2 days, I've just seen the most incredible charts in the last 2 days. One today and one yesterday. And the one yesterday was 6 years old. Unbelievable. So anyhow, here's the USA chart that was, as I told you, many people argue over what the USA chart is because we don't know what time they were born. Of all things, we don't know what time. So it was done with Mr. Sibley. Sibley was a very famous British astrologer, I believe, who did a lot of work on trying to refine it. And then Dane Rudhyar was one of the most famous astrologers ever. He rectified the chart. That's what they call rectification in astrology. When you have a birth time, you start moving the birth time around according to the experiences that the entity is having. So this is a very common one. A lot of people use this one. Some people use other ones. You'll also see people flirting around with Donald Trump's chart because there's obviously some kind of argument about if anybody had to have an argument about his birth time on his birth certificate, how about it being Donald Trump? But there's a 10-minute difference within Donald Trump's chart too. And when you have a change of 4 degrees, let's say, when you have an argument over 4 minutes, that translates into 1 degree changing of the rising sign. The rising sign changes every 3 minutes and 56 seconds. So we know this chart is close. We know the planets are right. We're not sure if it's Sag rising. Some people actually have Gemini rising. But anyhow, what we're going to show you is Neptune was in this position when the United States started. Of course, we didn't know about it till later. Then we put Neptune on there. Then Neptune got halfway around. It goes 164 years around the circle. Neptune got halfway around. Civil War started. Neptune returned. World War I can't remember exactly. One of them was World War I, one of them was World War II. And now Neptune is over here. And you can see how Neptune is opposite Neptune at the end of this Afghan war. So when major planets combine, wars are very likely to start or end. That's one thing we're going to look at. We're looking at the massive Pluto square since Pluto was here in 1776. They didn't know that till 1930. And it went around the circle and it's completing its circle now. This is massive, massive. And we're in the middle of it now. The other thing is really big too, which is the Pluto Square to let me show you that. Here's two charts at once. Okay, the third thing we're looking at is the planets right now. Pluto is squared to Eris, natal Eris. No, Pluto and Eris are both transiting and they're square to each other. This is why this is for everybody. They're both transiting body. Pluto Eris is 24, 24. This is for everybody in the world. This is going to break up pretty soon, thankfully, because Pluto moves relatively fast compared to Eris, which moves very slow. So you got Pluto Eris for everybody. You got Neptune, Neptune for America's chart, CM 22, 22. And you've got the Pluto Return. All right, we're going to start with Linda. We're going to start with the Pluto Return. Now, okay, when a planet returns, such as your birthday, the sun comes back to the sun. The moon comes back every month. Mars comes back every 2 years. They all have different rates because they're all different distances from the sun and they're traveling at different speeds. Uranus is traveling on its side. The other ones are traveling this way, rotating. Uranus is the weird one, going on its side. So when a planet starts, whether two planets conjunct in your birth chart, whether two planets conjunct tonight, and we're looking at it later, when a conjunction happens, it's the birth of a seed. A lot of people make a big deal of what degree it is at, what are the planets involved, what sign it's in. But when two planets conjunct, it's the birth of the combination of those two planets. So remember, let's go back to United States chart. All right. Got all kind of new messages on Zoom here. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try to take it slowly. So when the United States started, there was no Pluto, there was no Eris, there was no Neptune, there was no Uranus, there was no Chiron. These things were placed on the map as the country grew older. So Pluto, we know for fact, was 2732. And right now it's going all the way around. Right now it's at 24, 25. So it's been at 26. So we're obviously within the effects of the Pluto return now, which is going to be exact, I think, in February. So it's going to be 250 years around and it's returning. Now, when it returns, it's very much like I give you a bunch of money. I come back a long time later and see what you did with that money. That's really one good way of looking at this. Now, astrologically, it doesn't mean that. Astrologically, the Pluto in any entity is their connection to power. It's their connection to passion, importance, courage. So a person that has Pluto in their chart weekly, W-E-A-K, a weak Pluto, they don't have much passion. They don't have much go get them. They don't have much ability to hold their own in relationships. They're often dominated by the other. A person with a real strong Pluto can actually be overbearing, just consume you, dominate. So when Pluto is returning, what's happening now? Because you got to give it about 15 degrees. So it's been in the 15-degree range for about past 10 years. So it's been growing and growing and growing, getting more and more and more and more and more intense. And that's why Liza and I started to write about this in 2005, 2006. We knew it was going to get heavy duty, and it's coming along exactly like we thought. We couldn't talk about it because we scared the hell out of everybody. But at the time, what was funny, at the time, I was getting sick of writing about Pluto. I wrote so many articles, did so many videos on Pluto, 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 Pluto. But the other planets were so minor in relationship to the power of Pluto. And then for a couple of years, I got fooled. 2015, 16, 17, 18. I didn't know what was going on. I kept saying, what's going on is not Pluto. There's something else. And I couldn't write anymore because I didn't know what the other body was. 2005, we discovered 80 new bodies. I didn't know anything about any of them, all beyond Pluto. One of them is named Eris. And then this guy came up to me over the internet who really doesn't know astrology from his nose. He said, the difference is Eris. And I about flipped out, and he was exactly right. About 3-4 years ago. And Eris was the difference. And the reason I was having a hard time telling them apart is they're really similar. They're dark, they're intense, they're destructive, both of them. But I couldn't tell them apart because both of the meanings were merging. And I had to take some time. And then you saw me on this show in the last 3 years, starting to say, God, there is another planet out there, and it's doing stuff, and it sure is. And still, we're not seeing 95% of the astrologers still don't have Eris on their chart. So we're going to talk about the Pluto return. When a planet starts to cycle, there's a meaning when the planet starts its opening square, whether it's the sun and the sun after 3 months, whether it's Mars and Mars after 6 months, whether it's Saturn squaring Saturn after 7 years, or whether it's Pluto, 230 years all the way around, 112 years, 60 years per quadrant. So when a planet starts to square, the project is being tested. Like when a marriage starts, that's why they say the 7-year itch, because after a marriage starts 7 years later, Saturn is squaring Saturn in that chart. And Saturn is testing the marriage. Is this marriage strong enough to survive? And it throws trials at you. Then Saturn gets opposite itself at age 14. So they all have their own story. But planets have major chapters happen at the square point, at the opposition point, at the opposite square, and at the return. And when a return happens, it's really, really, really critical because the planets have cashed in their chips. And the planets seem to have a decision-making power on their own where they decide whether they're going to let you race in race number 2 or not. We're not sure. You got a questionable history in race number 1. I'm not sure we're going to let you race in race number 2. Well, you guys, you have a tremendous reputation. You use your energy beautifully. Yeah, you can have horse position, rail position number 1. You can race again. But that's what happens when the return of these things happen. It's happening to all of you all the time. You just don't know it. And what's confusing is you have this planet looping while this planet is in a subloop, while this planet's in a subloop, and they're all happening at different times. And unless you can unscrew them in your mind, it's hard to keep track of them. And as I told you all along, you're really only tracking 4 planets. Eris moves so slowly, we don't need to really track her. Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn. Those are the 4 big ones that cause the big changes. So when Pluto started to return in the last 10 years, it got confused with the fact that Pluto had entered Capricorn. And that's what's weird about astrology. You got to mix all this stuff up. So you had Pluto in 2008 going into Capricorn, out of coming of 13 years of Pluto and Sag, Pluto going into Capricorn, started to mess with all the things on the earth that were Capricornian, such as structures, administrations. Now we're near the end. Pluto's about 25, 26. It's going to be leaving Capricorn in a couple of years, going into Aquarius, coming back, then finally going back into Aquarius. That's normal for the planets. So when the Pluto return happens in February, we're already underneath the gun of that one. Now, you cannot talk about the Pluto return without mentioning some of the bad parts, because you're going to get some of the good, you're going to get some of the bad, and that means every one of you, all of us. You're just going to. Because when you get to the outer three planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, those planets rule the collective. They're impersonal. And when something is over you, it's impersonal, you don't know if it's owning you or not, if it's affecting you or not. Pluto seems to ignore some people, seems to blast some other people. We don't know why that is. It's just too big and complex, and it has a lot to do with your existential karma, so it can become a big deal. But what Pluto is doing largely with the US and with other things is it's coming back from where it started. Now, what makes the matter even more complicated is when the head of a corporation's chart is hit, it affects the whole corporation. And when the head nation of the world is being hit, it's affecting the whole world. So normally, if we were China, if we were Canada, if we were having a Pluto return, it wouldn't affect the whole world. It would just affect us. But we're symbolically the head of the world. So what's affecting us is also affecting everybody. So when the Pluto return is happening as it is now, number one, we're being tested. Have we been using our power or abusing it? That's the number one thing it's doing. This is why you're hearing so many things about reparations with the African American people, with the American Indian people, with all kinds of things. There's a sense of wanting to repay, to get free of the guilt of the past, to repay your sins. And a healthy Pluto, if Pluto hits you, here's what happens if you use it in a healthy way. If you use it in a healthy way, you realize you've sinned, you hurt people, you've harmed people, you go to them, you want to make reparations. This comes about from inside, not from outside. There are no planets out there. And so you want to get things straight with the other person because Pluto is a planet of great purity. It's not pure like Virgo. It's not pure like Pisces. Eris certainly isn't pure. Pluto is very pure. And if you've ever been around Scorpio people or watched Scorpios, there's a great purity to most of these people. Now, if you've got a negative Scorpio, it usually, I'm getting dizzy watching people walk around with their PCs. I'm trying to keep watching. I'm getting dizzy. Anyhow, you're going to walk around, put your hand over your camera, please. All right. So when Pluto comes around, it stirs up the Pluto inside you. And the Pluto inside you is honest. Some people, it's a dishonest, and they're really nasty. The Pluto in you is honest, and it's altruistic, and it wants what's best for you and everybody, and it wants to level the playing field so that you start playing level with everybody else. And that's where it's a lot like Eris. This is really heavy stuff tonight. So You know how you've done things in the past, and maybe you see somebody 10 years later and you did something to them 10 years ago and it bugs you? A lot of that is a Pluto in you because Pluto is all about merging with somebody else. It's about 1 + 1 = 10 million. That's what Pluto is about. It's about the beauty of merging with another. This is why so many Joni Mitchell songs and Neil Young songs, both Scorpios, it's why some of their songs are so beautiful, because they're talking about the purity of the merging with another. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And that's not a far cry from one sucking from the other or using the other. That's the abuse of Pluto. So when Pluto is returning, this is why you're seeing so many stories, either voluntary or involuntary. All these talks about what we did in the past. Oh, yeah, look what we did in 1950. Look what we did in 1920. All these stories are coming out everywhere, planet-wide. This is the reason why, especially in America. And you can see America has definitely stepped down from its lofty position. Why? It's absolutely clear why. Pluto is about honesty and courage. And if you're going to put a sign up with the Statue of Liberty, you better mean it. Pluto can't stand cowardice. It can't stand limpy, wimpy words. It wants to know, did you mean it? You made a promise, okay? An oath. So what you're seeing largely in America, the pain that you're seeing largely in this country is because we have faltered with our promise, with our mission. We've lost our mission statement. And when Pluto is watching you and you're faltering from your mission statement, you are in trouble. Because you got to ask yourself why. If I started a company, if I started a marriage, if I started anything, it's got a different kind of birth, a different kind of mission. But when you stray from your mission, things get really poor. You have poor results. Why did you stray from your mission? With Pluto, it's different than Gemini. Gemini strays from their mission because they get bored with it. They're not made to stay with their mission. Pluto and Scorpio stray from their mission because they become cowardly. They don't have the balls to stick with it, the fight, the gumption, whatever you call it. So what we're seeing now, look how this manifested. 1965, Pluto and Uranus were together, and they brought on the 60s. And all the promise there, and all the things that LBJ did, and all the social programmings and all. And then in 2013, 14, 15, 16, you saw the Pluto-Uranus squaring itself. In other words, the promise of 1965 became tested in the 2000 teens. 2015, 16, 17. They became tested. The things that we started in 1965. And what did you see? You actually saw voting rights go backward. African American rights changing, women's rights, all these different things. You've seen all this decay, and that's how Pluto works, with decay and decrepitness, underhandedness, all this shady stuff that's going on in the Congress in the past 10 years. You cannot fake out Pluto. You cannot fake out Neptune. You can't do it. It's not possible. So they tried playing funny money with everybody. And they tried funny smoke and mirrors with everybody. But you started to see the country starting to fall apart because it wasn't holding on to its mission. Now, on the positive side, if you're in touch with your Pluto, because Pluto's affecting us all now, we're all feeling this Pluto return inside of us as Americans. We can all feel, we don't know why, it's astrological. We don't know why, but we're all feeling that we're getting a second chance to be reborn as a country. We're all feeling it. And I'm talking about across the board. We got people out there saying in single grassroots, like last week, and Liza talked about it. We're all feeling this powerful urge to do something. When Pluto hits clients that come to my office to get a reading, what the most common thing is, people want to do something that's more meaningful. That's what Pluto does to a chart. You become sick of yourself being weak and you want to get strong. And when Pluto lines up like this is exactly when your power arrives. This is exactly what I've told people so many times when I've been doing readings for people. And I've learned as I've read, your power is arriving. And with Eris there too, and Neptune there, we have 3 different stories tonight. I'm going to tell you what each of you, everybody out there, our power is here now. Our power is here now. Now, if you're going to play chicken shit, you ain't going to go far with Pluto. And if you want to get tough and pick it up and have the balls to go forward with what Pluto is urging you to do, then do it. But here's the big thing about Pluto. We'll get more into Pluto Eris later. The big thing is, if you're feeling passionate about something, you got to do it. Nobody knows what the passion is inside of you but you. Nobody. Maybe your best friend has an inkling, but you got to do it because Pluto inside of you knows if you're chickening out. And then it'll work against you because you actually work against yourself because you get some embarrassed because you haven't used your strength. So it's like lining up. It's like putting your boat out in the stream. You're sitting on the shore and you got this powerful stream going by. And you put your boat and you get in the boat on the stream. Well, you're not going to go sitting still. You're going to start flying. What do you think is going to happen to you if you start putting your hands out in the water, grabbing onto the tree limbs and all, hesitating and resisting? You're going to get torn apart. And the ones that'll go far, they get in the stream and just start rowing and just, woo! You're going downstream, let's go. That's exactly what these planets are like. What got into you? I don't know what it is. What got into Mary last night? I don't know, but there's something coming over Kathy. If something's coming over her, she ain't the same one. Can't push her around like you once did. No. And one of the common things Pluto does is makes you start throwing relationships out where the relationships aren't any good. Where the relationships are not even, where you've been used, where people are using you, where people are sucking off of you, where people are just with you because you're a good listener. Pluto people going through Pluto transits, one of the number one things to listen for is they start throwing people out because the other person doesn't deserve you. Period. And Pluto is, you can't bullshit these big planets. Pluto, if you're not pure, it will get rid of you. That's simple. And start looking. When you analyze these planets, you got to look on a really broad lens. You got to really zoom way back to see what's happening countrywide, in your state, in your government, on TV, on the programs, with your friends, with your family. You got to zoom out to see what's going on. This is what Pluto has been doing. I've been talking to you since the beginning of this show 4 years ago about getting up on the horse, getting off your pony. That's what Pluto does. Pluto says, the pony was really nice when we needed. Thank you so much. Please go out to pasture. It's time for the thoroughbreds. If you think it's not time for the thoroughbreds now, then you're greatly misled. Now, I'll guarantee if each of you had written down something before this show started in terms of what you think you're going to need to do over the next 3-4 years, I guarantee you would all be writing down heavy type of stuff, get more involved with this, have more courage here, face this, face that, face this. That's exactly how you utilize Pluto, because it's in you and it's bubbling. If 10 years ago wasn't bubbling, was in there, moving around quietly, wasn't bubbling. Go buy it a Winnebago. But it's bubbling. And when it's bubbling, it's passion. So what's happening now, I will guarantee you, with everybody you know, they're going to succeed to the degree that they're following their passions. And right reverse. Now, what's so good about this time, it's not that Pluto's a good time, Pluto's a bad time, is that Pluto's an intense river, period. Pluto's not a non-intense river, it's an intense river. And you can't cross the river without getting in the river. Now, you wait till we get to Eris. Pluto's an intense river, and I told you this story, I'm sure many of you have not heard it. I'm doing a chart of somebody. Pluto went out of Sag and it went into Capricorn on a Friday night, January the 25th in 2008 at 9:30 at night. That's exactly when it crossed. I'm doing a lecture at that time. And for whatever reason, at that moment, because I was aware of it, I turned and pointed my finger to this Capricorn lady. I said, you are not doing your thing. I don't know why I did it. Ended up being totally accurate. She was feeling like a piece of you know what, because she was not living up to her strength. And she told me afterward that was right. She's going to stop doing what she's doing. She's going to get with the program. Okay. So 3 months later, you'll notice if you watch your history, what happened in the winter time of 2008. So many things happened because Pluto changed signs. So I'm reading for this guy, this gay man. He's in my office. Really nice guy. He's an accountant. Lots of his friends are dying from AIDS. I'm reading for him 3 months after Pluto went into Capricorn. He says he starts talking about an event he went through back in January, and he's his accountant, so he's got his day timer with him. He could tell exactly what he did every day. He flips back to January 25th at 9:30 at night. Get this. This guy is an accountant. How many people go to professional meetings at 9:30 at night on a Friday night? He was at a meeting of the other. Can you get her to calm down? That would really help, please. At 9:30 at night, he got up in front of this board of other CPAs. He said, I'm done. I quit. I can't do this anymore. They said, what? Came out of nowhere. And what was eating away at him was all his friends were dying of AIDS. He said, I can't do this anymore. I'm making good money and you're all good people, but I'm going back to school and I'm going to become a physician's assistant. That's how powerful astrology can be, and it can be to the minute, as it did in that case. There's a guy who recognized the river. He saw the boat and he jumped in. And he got all these people left behind him talking and murmuring what's going on. He's crazy and all. And I'll guarantee you this guy is hundreds of times better off than he was. That's an extreme example, but you only know it if you're looking for it. Okay? So that's what's happening to us now during the Pluto return. And what you cannot do now is you cannot rest on your laurels. You cannot rest on the government or your high school or your college to do something about all these things. You got to do it. I got to do it. We have to do it. All these different ways. And how many people are feeling a stirring in them that they want to change their ways and start doing something more meaningful? Raise your hand, please. Well, then we pretty much have everybody, and this is awesome. It's a great thing. So all I'm going to tell you is it's here, it's real, and the number one thing I'm talking to my people now, and this is because Pluto and Eris are together. This is not normal times. First of all, you got Pluto Return, which is 50 times stronger than a typical Pluto, but you got Pluto Square Eris. And what I'm telling people now is you're thinking of doing something really crazy, aren't you? Nah, you're thinking of doing something outrageous, aren't you? Nah, don't tell me. I know you are. Okay? I know you are. Do it. All I'm saying to you is right. Do it and go. Because the energy is here. The time is here. This is the dawning of the age of, you can feel these dawnings, these comings and goings. This is like the Pluto Eris that we're getting to is like the end of the Dark Ages. And in the past Dark Age ending, you didn't sit there in the pub and say, hey, I think the Dark Ages are ending. I'm thinking that a couple of weeks. Yeah. It didn't happen like that, but that's exactly what we're in now. And as the Dark Ages are ending, it's very possible that they'll get darker. These two planets are very unpredictable. There's nothing like what's happening now with Pluto and Eris combining. You saw on the map, they're exactly square. So as far as Pluto is concerned, your passions are here. You are going to get people in your face if you've been avoiding them. You're going to get people in your face if you have been backing off of your power. And if you use your power and you use assertion and not aggression, you're going to have tremendous victories, tremendous activities. And if you follow your passion, doors are going to open. People are going to welcome you. You're going to get books. You're going to get videos. You're going to get visits. You're going to get opportunities to shake hands with people in big corporations. All you got to do is let it go because, again, it isn't you. It's this power coming through you. I told you everything in astrology is like shoots. It's a shoot of a plant coming up. Well, with Pluto, it's like this. That's what's going on. This enormous power. Now, how many of you have been feeling, let me finish the question. How many of you have been feeling a rather heavy duty surge or urge to do something? And the other part of you saying, oh God, that's just crazy. How many? Uh-huh. All right. Okay. Well, I'm not crazy. I don't want you to jump off a cliff, but I'm telling you that you're near the stream. The stream is really powerful, and get in the damn water. And there is no way that you're going to know where that water is going to take you. There's no way to know when the next boulder is. There's no way to do it, but you got to get in the water, and that's 90% the battle. Okay, now we're going to revisit this when we get to Pluto combined with Eris. I think you're getting an idea. So the positive is the stream is here. The negative is the stream is here. It'll beat you up. You've all been in the ocean when the waves are crazy. It will beat you up. But if you ride it, you're surfing a great wave. Okay, let's shift to Neptune. This is solely American. The Pluto thing was solely American too, but there are offsets. There are expressions that bleach out into the rest of the world too. So you're seeing this everywhere. And this is one reason that you're seeing with Pluto, people don't want to play with us anymore. They don't want to play with us. They voted the most dangerous country on the planet is the USA. Shock to the big ego, isn't it? Neptune is now opposite Neptune in the birth chart. Okay, remember it's gone around once. It's halfway around now. 164 years per loop. When Neptune is totally different to Pluto. When Neptune goes around, it's the spiritual planet. It's the planet that listens to you when you're praying at church by yourself and you're kneeling at the altar. When you're kneeling there and you're making your little promise to God, you're making your little deal about what you're going to be like while you're making deals with him, and he ain't listening at all because he doesn't make deals. But what's important is the back when the Neptune conjuncted around, around World War II time was the last time it conjuncted. Is that right? Yeah, about 80 years ago. A little bit in 1950s, 40s, 1940. It was 1940. Okay. When Neptune conjuncted, you made a promise. And even though you weren't born then, a promise was made psychically. A promise was made holistically in the collective. And now the Neptune's opposite Neptune, and it wants to see how we've done. And this time, instead of power, it wants to know how we've done in terms of getting naked and bowing down before your God. Not because you got to honor the God. It's a bunch of crap. Not because you have to worship the God. He doesn't need worship. You need worship. He doesn't. How pure have you been? How pure and loving have you been? How pure and loving and opening your heart to everybody around you have you been? That's all it's to it. Jesus 101. How have you done in the Jesus 101 area? So when the opposition happens, what you're seeing now, you're seeing churches crumbling, you're seeing false idols crumbling, you're seeing all the false Neptune crumbling, and you're seeing tremendous confusion, which is Neptune, and smoke and mirrors. And I don't want that shot. Don't give me that shot. That shot's got heebie-jeebies in it, cooties in it. Don't give me that shot. So people are dying because you're not getting the shot. You get miscommunication, all the negative things of Neptune: disruption, deception, confusion, smoke and mirrors, lies. That's the negative side. The positive side is yours is a different river. This is a different river. The Neptune river is the beauty of spirit. It's the bowing down and the surrender to God, to Holy Spirit, whatever you call it. It's the surrender, letting go of what you think is right and going with the flow. That's what Neptune is. It's the flow. It's the Tao. That's what it is. And even though it's opposition, don't get confused by these books. The squares are bad and oppositions are bad, or they're good and conjunctions are good. It's garbage. Don't pay attention to that. Yes, the oppositions and the squares will be more of a trial, but the planets are combining. They're combining. They're banging into each other. They're being energized. Now, if you haven't looked around in the past 5-10 years and seen flags go up and shingles go up, health center here, massage parlor here, Reiki master here, astrologer here. Everybody in the world is dying, coming to me. Hey, I want to get into this stuff. How? And then the real ones that are really kidding themselves, they say to me, "Hey, what's it take to be an astrologer?" I said, well, you got about 20 years. Huh? What do you think, Claudia? You got about 20 years? Okay, I'm not trying to discourage you, but astrology is very difficult. But you're seeing the heart open. The people want to do this stuff. The people are realizing the pocketbook's not going to take them anywhere. The love and the open heart's going to take them somewhere. So that's what the Neptune opposition is doing. Now, on the other hand, what you're seeing is the phonies are dropping like flies because you don't fool Neptune. If you're naked in front of God, he can see who you are. He can see you with your clothes on. You know, it's the whole dance, as Ram Dass would call it, the whole dance is becoming honest with yourself and becoming honest with others. In the case of Neptune, it's a time for you to become loving. It's a time for you to drop your physical addictions, your attachments. It's a time for you to pick up meditation, whatever it is, vibration, whether it is song, whether it's hymn, whether it's chanting. I mean, so many people I talk to now say, Rick, listen to this. It's really great. Listen to this. I'll send you this CD. People are tuning in all over. They're finding the beautiful American Indian flute music. There are all kinds of stuff, the different vibrations, symbol music, Eastern Asia music. When Neptune is hitting Neptune, the vibe is getting bigger in the country. Doesn't mean we're conscious of it. It might mean we're super conscious of all the Neptune corrosion, yes. But while Neptune's hitting Neptune, we're all still seeing a rise in that river. So it just so happens Neptune's this lovely river, beautiful river. Well, when Neptune opposes it, you're in the rapids section. You're in the rapids. And anybody will tell you when you're in the rapids, it's the greatest time of your life, also the scariest. Now think about Neptune. Think about it. Neptune is not going to support you if you think that you are an individual. I got nothing to say about it. I'm not going to get into the argument about it. Christ told us to be like children to get through the kingdoms of heaven. It's the collective, yes. It's the sensitive mind. My good friend, Donna Eaton, she's a nationally known Pisces, one of the greatest healers in the country. She must be about 80 years old now, 76, something like that. I was talking to her one day. She was on stage. This was during the Reagan administration. She was on stage, and as a Pisces, if you're really Piscean and you're really boundless, then you'll start picking up things from beyond your boundaries because there is no individual. Well, anyhow, she's on stage, I believe it's 1986. And all of a sudden, she collapses. And everybody's scared to death. And they took some time with her, gave her some water, got her back up on her stool, and so she continued. What happened at that exact minute? At that exact minute, somewhere in the United States, at that exact minute, Reagan had killed Gaddafi. And she being a non-individual, she being one with the collective, she collapsed when Gaddafi died at that moment. And that's one of the dangers and difficulties of being a Pisces, because you don't have any boundaries. So it's kind of tough to go through life as a body, but not have any boundaries. So you got to get a balance of the two, and that's really hard to do. She collapsed at the exact moment that Gaddafi had died, because it was a pain to the collective, and she felt it. I'll give you another reminder in the last few minutes here. When is the first day of September? Anyhow, first day of September. You got all that time between now and the last minute of August 31st. You got that time to go to Deneen Joyner's website, DeneenJoyner, if you want to get a free chance to get a free soul reading from her. And they're magnificent, and they cost, I'm not going to get into the cost, but all you got to do is go to her website and write a paragraph about why you want to get the soul reading. And a lot of people have done so. She's going to read them all, pick the number one that she likes. And you got just a few days left. Yeah, today's the 26th. So you got 4 or 5 days left. Her name is Deneen, Deneen Joyner, Joyner, DeneenJoyner.com. That's it. Okay, for those of you tuning in from YouTube, we appreciate you joining us. We're glad that you do. If you want to join us live like this crowd does, just go any Thursday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, go to Google and type in Astrology Unplugged, and you'll get the link. Okay, so the thing with Pluto's here to supply us our power. And don't deny me. Don't shred this off easily. Don't shake this off. Pluto is your power, and a lot of times it comes about through your anger. There's a lot of people that need to get pissed off. Doesn't mean they got to do crappy stuff, but in terms of opening the gate to their power. That's what Pluto does. Neptune's totally different. Neptune brings you the promise of, hey, stop fighting. Hey, stop struggling. Take it easy. Let life come to you. Let it come to you. Beautiful, natural, flowing. Neptune's a whole different energy. Now we get into the wild woman. And the wild woman is Eris. She is out beyond Pluto. She takes 550 years to go around. Look at what happened in 1921 when she entered Aries. Look at all the stuff that happened on the planet. 1921, she entered Aries after 550-year cycle. And she's been in Aries since 1921. She's at 24 degrees now. So in 120 years, she's gone 24 degrees. She moves very slowly. And she's on my charts. She's well planted there because she is significant. So what's happening to remind you, not only is okay, here is Eris. Moon has just gone over. Eris is a 24 at a right angle to Pluto. See the right angle? And in a couple of years, Pluto is going to move on and lessen the pressure. But right now, it's just unbelievable pressure because the two heavyweights are square to each other. Now, the negative side of, let me start out with the positive. The positive side of Eris, she's tired of injustice. She's tired of unfairness. She is raising her head. She will be included. You will not exclude me again. That's the key to Eris. You will not exclude me again. She was a goddess and she was excluded from one of the parties. And so she got mad at all the lords and ladies and she threw a golden apple through the window. And in mythology, and on the apple was carved, "Who is the fairest of all ye?" So all the ladies started fighting on who was the most beautiful, and it was an apple of discord. So that's how she works. She works through discord. And who does she work on? She works on the unfair, the ones who are lying and cheating, and that's why you're seeing so much of this in the world now. This fight to get fairness again. Now, remember, she's only been in astrology's world since 2005 and again in 2006. She was discovered twice. So we're talking 16 years now. She's only been on the map for 16 years. Well, Pluto's been here since 1930. Okay, so what do you know? They're square to each other. Well, one of the things that happens when two planets are square is the differences between the two get greatly exaggerated, and the commonalities between the two get greatly exaggerated too. Well, Eris is all about, if you're unfair, we're just going to get rid of you. And Pluto is all about, if you're not evolving and having the courage, we're going to get rid of you. So when one of them suggests something outrageous to the other one says, okay. And this one suggests something outrageous to them. The other one says, okay. So this is why the energies are combining in a very scary way. Now, we're actually getting calls all the time. When do you think this stuff's going to end, Rick? I don't know. When do you think this virus is going to go away? I don't know. When do you think this is going to happen and the climate's going to start behaving? I don't know, but we're certainly seeing how dangerous it all is. Now, when you combine the two, and remember it's a square, so this is a crazy river. This is a river you don't even want to get in. Okay? This river is so unbelievably intense. Well, what do you do with that? What do you do in a river that's black and rocky? You don't want to get in it, but you sure can't sit by the wayside and dry up with the trees. So you kind of got to walk alongside of it, let's say. You got to pick up the power of it. And that's the power that you're feeling all throughout the country. You can sense it with the blacks, with the African Americans. They're done. They're done talking. Doesn't mean they need to turn violent, although Eris wouldn't mind it. They don't need to turn violent, but you're seeing the pressure on the police departments to start behaving a little better. You're seeing all kind of groups and situations. You're seeing all kind of people that we just can't keep having these overlords taking command of us, and people working for $7.25. And then one of the problems is the American chart, we're very laid back. We want things handed to us. We don't like conflict. We're lazy. We want things to be easy for us. And then Pluto and Eris are saying, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. So we don't like making a fuss. But Eris is about make a fuss, which is why she chimed in so harmoniously with the Trump people. Because whatever reason, right or wrong, these people felt like they were not heard. They were left out. Drain this swamp. I'll do anything I got to do. Let's get this damn swamp fixed. So they're not right, but they think they're draining the swamp while it's getting bigger and bigger. But the force behind Eris Pluto is about we need massive change. Now, I don't know enough about Eris because she's rather new. I know a lot about Pluto. We have, how am I going to say this? Pluto has shown a propensity that if you try, Pluto helps you. I can't say that for Eris because I just don't know. Don't know. I've only been following a couple hundred charts with Eris in. I don't know. But what is indicated by such forceful planets, Eris is the one that's trying to get us out of the dark ages. She's the one that's said to be a look at that cat looking at me with that green eye. Look at that green eye, what beautiful eyeball she has. Wow, she must be Eris. Look at her. My God, Marcia says yes, she is. Well, I'm not going to turn her microphone on. I know that. Okay, so I was thinking about something today. It's really interesting. And I wrote down, what is the nature of the planets now? And in all my readings, what that means is this. In the past 3 years, I'm getting these outrageous readings. I'm getting these people that are going through, look at that cat staring at me with those green eyes. Look at that. Wow. I'm getting all these people that are so ready to burst forth into a new launching. I'm getting them left and right and left. And I'm talking about 9 out of 10 of my readings. There are people that come to me and I'm going, and then we get down to, you ready to do something outrageous? Yeah, go do it. Okay, thanks for the permission. So I started asking myself, why am I getting these kind of people? 1, 43 years of reading, maybe I'm getting better and that's getting through to my clients and they're picking that up. 2, maybe people are more ready than they were before, which is what I think. Or 3, whatever, just mix it all together. So what's happening with Pluto Eris is everything now is off the charts. What I'm telling you now is the truth. Okay. The number one thing you're going to need if you're going to activate this heavy dark river, or maybe we'll use some other anomaly, I don't know. Liza told me analogy. I did pretty good tonight. It took me all that time to I use one word wrong. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. Thank you, Liza.
Liza for backup. Liza for backup.
Okay. When these two heavyweight planets, these are the new strangers, the combination of Pluto Eris and Eris herself. They're really strange. We don't have much history on her. We know what she's like in powerful charts, and the people with Eris strong in their natal charts are outrageous. They don't care if they get in trouble. They burst forth. They are powerful speakers. They are not afraid of discord as an avenue. Well, some discord really sucks, and some discord isn't bad. And that's why you're seeing both types out there. But when you can put the two together, Pluto's not going to walk over to Eris and say, hey, let's calm down a little bit. Pluto doesn't do that. So we're seeing outrageous forces now. So what I'm saying to you, that's why I told you I got these readings recently. And I'm telling people, don't tell me you want to do this and you maybe want to go do that. You got something planned. I know you do. Something big is going on. And what I will tell you from my heart and from the heart of an astrologer is the planets will back you up. And what does that mean? That means they'll push aside your enemies. They may even destroy your enemies. They'll bring you money. They'll bring you ideas galore. They'll bring you new movements. Where do you think these new movements come from? Do you think Eris was around Gandhi when he did what he did in 1948? This is what causes these eon-changing movements are these big planets. So these two planets, along with Neptune, Pluto and Eris and Neptune, are all at your disposal now. And what that means is there's the problem. You got to trust. That's the problem. You got to let go of control and start allowing Holy Spirit to control whatever you want to call it, the universe. You got to give control to it, because then, and only then, are you dealing with reality. Because if you're not surrendering, you're not dealing with reality. You think that you can do it, and you can't do it. Tell me something that you've done. Tell me something you've done in your life that's been outrageous, that you decided and you launched and you did it. Don't give me that look, Susan, just because you drove across the country. I need you to tilt your camera down, please. I can barely see you. Okay, I'm not going to get silly with you, but that's what's going on, and that's what's behind me tonight. And that's why I was really looking forward to tonight, because I feel the force of these planets, and they're very difficult to discern and to enunciate. But what I'm telling you now is if you got big plans, and you don't have to do it alone. Maybe you want to start a movement and work with some people together, like-mindedness. I mean, the internet's crazy with all these people joining together to do all the craziest stuff. The planets are what's causing it. This is where the ideas are coming from. But number one, you got to have pure intentions. If you have intention to hurt somebody, you better get the hell out of the way fast, because you're going to get run over and destroyed. If you're trying to hurt somebody, watch out, because these planets aren't dumb. They're going to get rid of you. If you've got good intentions, you want to help people, and you need help from brothers and sisters, these planets will help you. They will help you advertise. They will help you do what's going on in this show to announce this. What are the odds? What do you think would have happened 2 years ago if I'd have said, hey, how many people have these outrageous plans? Nobody would have raised their hands. Nobody. Now's the time. And it's going to get really much more intense because the Pluto is getting closer. Okay? The Pluto Uranus is going to be closer. The Neptune is about the same. So you're going to see it everywhere. And one of the things you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of people trying to lie to you. They're going to try to define what's happening, what makes sense for them, what helps their agenda, especially certain political parties. Okay? They're going to lie like crazy to you. And this is where America is not very bright. We're a really naive country. We believe this stuff. And all you got to do is scare Americans once with a little boo, and they run for cover. I'm sure the French are looking at us and laughing, and the Brits are laughing, and the Italians are looking and laughing, watching what's happening here, because we're just not used to it. We've never been invaded before in a major way. They have. So what I want to talk to you now about, is this. There's 20 minutes left. I want to talk to you about Green-Eyed Cat. She doesn't like that song. I love that song, Green-Eyed Lady. That cat got the greatest eyeballs. Okay, I want to talk to you about things you're planning, things you're thinking about, things you're feeling coming up through you, things you're seeing with others. And if, by all means, if you're seeing this happening with your friends, you don't have to talk about astrology, but try to encourage them to start moving, because you don't have to come from a standstill and get to 60 miles an hour in the first step. You just need to start moving with faith. And then you'll pick up speed and it will get better and better. But we're not really taught in this country to have faith that somebody's behind us, even though we say we're Christian. And he yells all through the Bible, I'm behind you, I know what you want, before you even know it. But that's different if he knew it. It's different when we know it. So I want to talk to you about that. Are you feeling some surges? Are you feeling urges? Are you feeling something I can help you with better defining, because this is where it's coming from. It ain't coming from Uranus. It's not coming from Saturn. It's coming from those three planets. So if you have a question, I don't have the time to look at your chat box. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we will, or if you're just noticing something, I want to augment this and verify this. Let me know how you're feeling. Here comes the apple of your eye in Orchard, Mead, in Ann Orchard, in Mead, Washington. So what are you stirring up out there, Sagittarian?
This is nothing that would start a movement, but the last several days I've had two strong urges to try something new. One was plein air painting, and I thought I would camp somewhere and watch several hours of YouTube videos on how to do it first.
What kind of
when
painting?
I got
What kind?
Plein air.
What's that mean?
Which it means you take your oils and you go out in scenery and you paint directly what's in front of you.
Wow.
And you want to get the whole thing done in a few hours.
Wow.
So,
wow.
But I don't really know how to do this, and I was going to watch YouTube videos on it.
Let me interrupt you for a minute now. Stop. What I'm saying to you is this is a movement.
Okay.
Okay? Because you never know what breakthrough is going to come from this. When Ram Dass was in the early 60s or mid 60s, and he was in his ashram in the top of a mountain, and all his friends were involved in anti-war demonstrations, he wrote about feeling like a coward because he was on the sidelines. He should have been on the front lines. Well, when we look back, he was on the front lines. He broke new frontiers for all of us.
Right.
So same thing with you. And you're a fire sign. And you're definitely a good fire sign because you're sad. So go ahead and do it and explore. Because that, oh, look at that. Wow. Is that your first one?
That's the first one.
How do you do? How do you do it?
I just started painting. I went out to a dock and I got a little seasick because it kept moving, but I just started painting what was in front of me.
Well, how was that different from how you normally paint?
I take a photo and I sit down and I do it in watercolor and pen and ink, more like a drawing.
Okay.
And this was my second attempt the next
Wow.
day. This was the same lake,
Fabulous.
Middle Thompson Lake, Montana. And it was a different
Fabulous.
angle.
Okay, now
So
don't you think for a minute that you're not breaking ground? You're definitely breaking ground because you're getting through an archetype that blocked you at one time. You're getting through
right.
and opening up another one. So we're all at different types of frontiers. I think
Well,
that's excellent.
Today I've had a crazy craving all day long to research travel guitars. I don't know how to play guitar, but
Oh,
I think I can't stand it anymore. I'm going to have to buy one tomorrow.
Martin has a really nice miniature that's made for backpacking, and
That's exactly
it's a
the one.
beautiful
It's
guitar. Yeah,
the
that's the one.
XK2, I think.
Yeah, that's the
something
one.
like that.
My buddy bought one. They're really nice, really well made. And you don't need a full body guitar, especially around a campfire. You know what I've
Nope,
been
just a
thinking?
tiny one.
What I've been thinking recently isn't this nuts? This came from a discussion recently. I've been
Yeah.
thinking about starting campfire discussions
Oh, I love it.
because Liza's been telling me so much about how stories is what's going to get us out of this junk we're in, rather than fighting each other about take the needle, not the needle, take the needle, not the needle. I've been thinking about how can I start up, and I don't think there's any way to do it except start a bonfire, get some beer, invite some people, roll out some logs. Let's start having some fun. But I think what you're doing is marvelous because it's symbolic of what we're talking about. Because as you get in touch with this feeling that's coming up through you, it's going to get better defined, and you'll be able to see the same thing in others. Thank you so much. That was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who was next? Raise your hand. Somebody raise your hand. It looks like Diane. Yeah, Diane, go ahead, dear. You got to be unmuted.
Yeah, I don't know if I was next, but
Well, I'm trying here.
yeah. So first of all, I'm a psychotherapist, and I certainly have seen.
Erica says no campfires. We're going to be careful here in the East. Don't worry. Go ahead.
So I'm a psychotherapist, and in my clients, I'm seeing so much transformation, so much starting to really work on, some core issues with some of my long-term clients. As far as myself, I actually, based on a session with you, looked into retirement. And then planning on retiring next year when I turn 65.
Good.
And I'm trying to I feel like, there's more for me to do, but not maybe in the therapy arena. And so over the last year, I've gotten super interested in rocks and crystals. I mean, I've always been attracted to them, but I actually started learning about them and acquiring them. I've started doing more guided meditations with my clients, some of them actually more spiritually oriented. So I'm still not clear what's next for me, but I can feel, that I'm being called to do something that's more spiritual.
Okay, well, that is the number one thing that's going to stop you, in my opinion. I think you'll be fine, but the number one thing that's stopping people is they get to the end of the reading and they want to know how it's going to happen. And there's no way you can know how. There's no way that you can know how. You got to get in the water, start floating downstream, and then you'll see what new vistas are ahead of you. So that's the great thing we see with the Sagittarian with Susan, is she's just got out the damn paint, start painting. And you might get a mud pie every now and then, but then you just got to keep trying, try something else. Well, I think that's fabulous, Diane. I'm saying that with a lot of psychology friends of mine too. They're trying all kinds of different modalities, etc. One thing I will say, and I'll ask you the question. I'm seeing a lot of people get divorced, and they're getting divorced not to be cruel, and the kids are like 2 and 3. They're getting divorced because they know they're on the wrong track. And it really makes hardship for the wife and for the kids, yes. But on the other hand, I think it's symbolic that at least they're trying to honor their own path and get in touch with that. So I think the jury is out, and we need to be patient with these folks. And I think ultimately it's going to be good for all of us. Thank you, Diane. That was really, really good.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Erica, we will not start any fires west of the Mississippis. So, and there'll be little bitty ones. I didn't say campfire. There'll be little tiny fires, little things. Okay. Okay, come on now. I guess Linda Jordan Platt. I got to come to her once a week because I just have to. Tell me, Linda, about you with these planets. I know you're a pretty good astrologer. What are you feeling and seeing?
Well, I've been working on an academic article for a decade. I mean, seriously, like pieces and pieces and pieces and pieces. And now I'm in the hideous middle of it, and it's changing everything. I mean, I had to revise all my courses. I'm doing everything differently in the classroom. The kids are galvanized. I mean, people are talking. It's wild. It's wild. And,
why is it wild?
Because it changed because I'm thinking new things and in more, there's something out there I'm writing about that I know intuitively is true.
Right.
And I've spent 10 years writing my way towards it.
Right.
And now I'm on the verge of it. And I'm going to finish it in the next month or so, I hope, and send it. And then I'm going to have to call you because you're going to have to push me to send it out because that's a big.
Now, have you read the discovery of Discovering Eris?
Yes.
Did that help you?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. The work that I'm trying to do is about arguing to my own profession that we're too arrogant and elitist, and we have to look at the fact that, especially teaching literacy, everybody, we want to teach high literacy, like academic stuff, how to write arguments and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And we don't look at the fact that these kids come with literacies already.
There's so many problems in education. So many.
A good example of this that sort of fits into the news today is one of my students 2 years ago was a Marine whose job in Iraq was leading convoys. And when I had them write about, they had definitions that they were working with, they had to write about this literacy. And what he wrote about was the literacy of the convoy, about how you had to know how to signal to other people, whether there were bad guys on the side, whether there was an IED. And I mean, he wrote a 4-page description, single-space description of this. And I'm standing there thinking, I'm like an English teacher, and here's this guy that's been leading convoys through Iraq, sitting in my classroom, and I had no idea how much he knew.
That's a campfire story.
And so I'm working on that, and so I'm coming to students with a different demeanor, I think, and I'm imagining that they're, I've always thought the students were smart, and I've always thought I was respectful, but I'm just in a different orientation.
What I suggest to you is that you are delivering Erisian energy to people who are early in receiving it. They're early in starting to identify it, because we've seen in the past year that the Erisian knowledge of people just be going up. It really is. and not enough is known about the positive side. But what the thing you'll find in common, even though it's said that it's the ruler of Libra, which I partially agree with, the thing you'll find in common with it is that you're going to see people become more and more comfortable with the idea of discord.
Well, you know,
Discord as a mechanism. As a
I-
mechanism. In other
Yeah.
words, the people who said long ago, we don't want to rock the boat because it just causes too many disturbances.
oh, I'm a boat rocker
Those
from
people
way
are out
back.
the window right now.
I'm a boat rocker from way
Yeah,
back.
it's time to rock the boat.
And part of it, I mean, I just say no, we're not. I mean, I look at people and say, no, we're not doing that.
Well, I
You know
suggest
what?
you're more of a channel than you think.
Well,
You're really channeling Arisian energy, and I think that's really good. And I find you very chaotic, and it's wonderful.
I mean, I know, and it's not for everybody.
No, you're a charming type of discord. You don't bother me at all.
And by the
Thank
way,
you.
Shelby says hi.
Hi, Shelby. Thank you, Linda. That was very good. Mr. John, get something to say? What do you think, Mr. John? I'm going to call on you.
This is making me think of Miles Davis.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I mean, he just went with something inside of him that no one else had, and he had this little trumpet, and he was so incredible, and he was a genius, I think, in music, and he just kept going and going, and no matter what was happening, he kept ahead of it. I don't know how he did this.
I'll bet you $10 it was this. I'm looking him up right now. I'll bet you $10 it was his placement of Eris.
He's,
Yeah, I got three copies of his chart right here. I have no idea. Let's look it up. We're going to see Eris strategically placed. All right, let's take a look. So how about that for service? Here's Miles Davis. Look at Eris next to Uranus. Eris next to Uranus. That's not only exactly what you just said. That's something he's just going to roll right over you.
yeah, he was
He's just going to let it out.
right.
Now he's got Saturn in Scorpio, the moon in Scorpio. He was a Gemini, but he's really not. I mean, he's known for his scorpionic vibes. People are rather scared of him. But this is somebody who's got the boldness of the Aries from Eris and got the boldness from Uranus in his soul in Pisces. Combine the two, and let's take a look. We don't know his birth time. Here we do. Let's take a look at his fifth harmonic. How about that? Which shows us what he was as a musician. This ought to be interesting. Okay, here's the fifth harmonic. I gotta get it. There it is. Okay, you see Eris is down on the moon, and Eris is opposite Jupiter, and it's in the middle of a grand cross. So you worked backwards. You felt the energy. We worked backward. It had to be in the chart. Somebody's mild and groovy is not going to go out and knock trees down. They're just not going to. And what do people say about him? They just say uncompromising and how he levels them flat. That's what I've always heard. And personally, I think people were afraid to be around his energy.
He was not a nice person.
I know. I understand that. Saturn and Scorpio can be very trying. But I think that's a wonderful example. But what did you pick up in general from the talk this evening?
Well, a lot of nervous people wanting to just break out of a pattern. And, I'm that way. I'm on a hero's journey. Me and what my background is. And I don't know anyone else like me. So I'm kind of alone. But I absorb a lot. I absorb everything.
I will say to you, there are more people out there like you than you think.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
They're out there. I see some, I talk to them, but I think we're all feeling this energy. I think it's great. Now, let me tell you a couple of things as we end here. It's not going to come out smoothly. It's not going to come out organized. It's not going to come out without discord. Okay? We're not going to be able to put legislation on it. Can you do something? It never stops. Okay. That's the whole point I'm making. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be chaotic.
Miles' life, was a mess.
Huh?
Miles Davis' life was a mess, but his music was.
Well, of course, it was Gemini. He's trying to keep all that together. He couldn't keep it together, but at least he had that one channel open. He had that channel open. Okay, we'll bring it to closure. Thank you, YouTubers, for joining us very much. I hope you gained from the information today. God bless everybody in this group. I think you all got something to look at inside, and maybe you want to talk about it next time, because I don't know what the subject will be, but maybe you'll be able to, during this week, to start identifying some of these force fields that are coming through you, because when you're not used to them, they're not easy to identify. Okay. This was awesome. Thank you very much, Leslie Reed. And thanks everybody for tuning in. This will be on the web in a couple hours.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Rick.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
great.
One of the
Thank you
most
so much.
passionate, one of the
What?
most passionate and strong shows so far.
I felt that.
Fantastic.
I felt
Yeah,
that.
I felt
I felt that coming in.